Only after 2 iterations, we realized how much a single shoutout can boost someone's day. When Ellie mentioned Princess Gams, the chat just exploded with positivity. Here's the takeaway. Recognition isn't just a side note, it's a core part of what keeps our community tight.
That's backed up by some numbers, actually. A recent poll in our group showed that over 70% of members felt more motivated to participate after being recognized, even in small ways. It's a measurable morale boost.
But what if you're always the one giving out the shoutouts and never getting them? I mean, Liam jokes about being jealous, but sometimes I wonder if it stings a little for real. Uncertain, but I think it depends on whether people feel genuinely included. Sometimes, the same names get mentioned, and others might feel invisible, even if it's not intentional.
Here's a question. Does being DHS royalty mean you're actually more involved, or just more visible? Because I've seen people do a ton behind the scenes and barely get noticed.
Visibility definitely plays a role. There's a feedback loop. Once someone's recognized, they get more opportunities to contribute, which makes them even more visible. But the original effort still matters. It's not just popularity.
I love how we sometimes do random appreciation posts, though. Like, not just for the royalty, but for anyone who's been kind or funny, or just showed up when someone needed it. That's what makes it feel like a real community, not just a fan club. But maybe we could ask listeners if there are better ways to make sure everyone feels seen?
Last week, we got stuck on whether Max's milkshake disaster was just bad luck or a classic case of snack risk gone wild. Here's the takeaway. Food and drink in school always seem to find their way onto someone's shoes, but does that make the chaos worth it?
If you look at the numbers, cafeteria spills are actually the top cause of minor classroom disruptions, at least in our school's incident reports. But what's interesting is that most students say these moments end up being more funny than humiliating, especially when teachers handle it with humor instead of anger.
But isn't it way more fun when something totally unexpected happens? Like, Max's milkshake moment was embarrassing, sure, but now everyone remembers it and laughs. It's almost like the messier the snack fail, the better the story later. I partly agree, but I always worry about being the one who spills. It feels mortifying in the moment, even if people laugh later. Maybe some people just handle embarrassment better, or maybe they just pretend not to care.
Here's what stands out. Max insists his chaos is central to the DHS experience. Is that true for everyone, or do most people prefer to lay low and avoid the spotlight?
Based on a quick poll last semester, about 60% of students said they'd rather blend in than be remembered for a snack mishap. But the other 40%? They actually liked being part of the school's inside jokes. It seems like there's a split between wanting to avoid embarrassment and embracing it as part of the community.
I think the best part is when everyone just laughs it off together. Like, if you spill something and your friends jump in to help or make a joke, it turns into a group memory instead of a disaster.
So maybe the real lesson is that a little chaos, especially the snack kind, can actually bring people closer. If you've ever had your own milkshake meltdown, you're definitely not alone. Last week, we got stuck behind a group trying to play paperball basketball right in front of the science wing. What surprised me most was how quickly the hallway turned into a full-on arena. It's like every passing period is a new episode of controlled chaos.
I counted at least 3 different games happening in the span of 5 minutes. Statistically, that's almost one mini-event per 100 feet of hallway. It's wild how these spontaneous moments seem to multiply when everyone's rushing to class.
You haven't lived until you've dodged a flying milkshake. Seriously, Rose and I were just trying to get to English, and suddenly, splat! Someone's lunch became modern art on the lockers. I partly agree, but sometimes the unpredictability makes it fun. If every day was perfectly organized, would we even remember it? Those embarrassing moments kind of stick with you, in a weirdly good way.
Here's the takeaway. The hallway chaos isn't just noise, it's where the best stories happen. Sure, it's messy, but it's also the stuff we'll laugh about years from now.
But where's the line between fun and disruption? If hallway antics start making people late or uncomfortable, does it cross over into just being a headache instead of a memory?
Depends on the day. Sometimes it's hilarious, sometimes you just want to disappear. But honestly, I think most people secretly love the unpredictability, even if they pretend to be annoyed, uncertain if there's a perfect balance. But maybe that's the point. The chaos is part of what makes school feel alive, and maybe a little less predictable isn't such a bad thing.
Only after 2 attempts did Liam realize the trash can wasn't the only target Mrs. Carla's hair became the real hoop. That moment, the whole class just froze, and you could feel the mix of horror and laughter brewing.
Statistically, these paper ball shots almost never land where you want. I read a study once. Accuracy drops by over 60% when you're under pressure, like when a teacher's watching. So, Liam's odds were stacked against him from the start.
But isn't that the fun part? You never know if you're about to make the shot of the year or end up in detention. I once tried a behind-the-back toss and hit the fire alarm instead. Instant chaos. But honestly, legendary. I partly agree, but I always wonder if these moments cross a line. Like, sure, it's funny, but what if someone actually gets hurt, or a teacher feels disrespected? Where's the balance between fun and going too far?
Here's the takeaway. These spontaneous games show how much students crave a break, but they also test the boundaries. Maybe if teachers joined in sometimes, it'd channel the energy in a positive way instead of leading to trouble.
If teachers did join, I bet the competition would get fierce. But there's a risk. Schools have rules for a reason. One stray paper ball and suddenly you're dealing with a safety report, not just a funny story.
Still, I'd pay to see Mrs. Carla sink a three-pointer with a crumpled worksheet. Maybe the real lesson is that everyone, even teachers, needs a little playtime sometimes.
Only after 2 iterations we realized how fast rumors can twist the truth at DHS. 1 minute it's a secret, the next it's the talk of the hallway.
That's right. Last semester, a single rumor about the chess club's secret meeting led to 3 new alliances forming overnight. It's almost like the social network here runs on suspense.
But isn't that what makes it fun? I mean, guessing who's teaming up, or what's really going on behind those closed doors, it's like a real-life mystery game. I partly agree, but sometimes the anxiety gets overwhelming. Secrets can be exciting, but they also make people worry about what might come out next.
Here's the takeaway. The tension between anticipation and anxiety is what keeps everyone on their toes. If you think you've figured out the alliances, you might want to look again next week. Promises even bigger surprises. And hey, if you've got your own theory or a story about school secrets, send it our way. We're all ears for the next round of drama.